changing things up this week for our meal prep and what we're eating this week. I had a great idea. I've been sitting and I'm always looking at every cookbook that I have on my shelf all the time. I love to reread them. I love to go back. And I was thinking, hey, why not cook all week from one of my favorite cookbooks and kind of give it a review, check out the recipes, and let you know whether it's worth the money or not worth the money. I thought that was a good idea because we're all going plant-based. Most of my cookbooks are plant-based, but some of them are not, and I'm going to just veganize them and make them plant-based. So this week I am going to be using the Engine No. 2 cookbook. If you've been under a rock and you don't know who Rip Esselstyn is, you need to Google him. His dad is Caldwell Esselstyn, who basically came up with Forks Over Knives and is a famous cardiologist. Rip himself is a firefighter who was obviously on the plant-based train, and his recipes are great. He writes his cookbook with his sister, Jane, and the recipes are all plant-based, no oils. So we're going to give some recipes a try, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion and any tweaks that I think could be made or should be made. So if that interests you, stick with me, guys. These are going to be great recipes. This is one of the #1 books, if you're going plant-based, that you probably should get. So let's give this a try and see what we're going to be doing. So for today, I'm going to be making the Caesar salad with the Sandy's Caesar dressing, and I'm going to make some corn muffins because I love corn muffins, and these are all oil-free. So let's get in the kitchen and let's start making supper tonight. So the first thing that's going to make this salad even healthier is kale, and I have dinosaur kale, and I'm just going to wash this, give it a soak, wash it, and dry it like you normally do. And I'm going to put together the dressing now. It's the middle of the afternoon. I'm going to put my dressing together now so it has a chance to meld together with the flavors, because I think that's always the easiest and best. And we're just going to follow his recipe to a T. 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 2 tablespoons of almond meal, or called almond flour. And I do like the fact that a lot of the recipes, or some of the recipes, are gluten-free. We're going to put that in. It says for 3 cloves of garlic, and I guess it just depends on how big or how small they are. Put into your garlic liking. I love garlic, so I'm going to put in 3 generous cloves of garlic. A little bit of vegan Worcestershire sauce, or W sauce. 3 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, super simple. 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now I ran out of my fresh lemons because I was making my morning concoction with my ginger and turmeric. So we're just going to go with the flow. I have this bottle one always as a backup because it's easier to keep. And 2 tablespoons of low sodium tamari. And 1/4 cup of water. Just going to put this in my blender and blend it up really quick. Give it a little taste test, see if it needs any adjustment. That's pretty good. Does need just a little bit of fresh black pepper, but I'm just going to put that on my salad. So we're going to throw this in the fridge, let it chill, let that garlic get into everything, because that's what we love. All right, so now we're going to make those corn muffins, and they basically have like 5 ingredients, super simple to make. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pan prepared. So to make these kicking corn muffins, we're going to take our bowl and we're going to add in equal parts of oat flour and cornmeal. I'm using actually a gluten-free blend of flour instead of the oat flour. So we're going to add that in. We're going to add in our 2 tablespoons of flax meal, which is going to be replacing our egg, some baking soda, and then we're going to whisk that together. Then we're going to add in our maple syrup, and then 1 cup of water. Super simple. We're going to mix this to combine, and you just want to gently combine this. You want to make sure that you don't over mix this. And now just take your scoop. I'm just using a 2 tablespoon scoop. It just makes it easier. And fill up your muffin tins. Now if you have a good non-stick pan, you won't need to use the liners, but I prefer using the liner so nothing sticks. And we're going to put that in the oven at 350 for 18 minutes. And these are our muffins. They came out okay. All right, so our muffins are done. It could be a little darker. I did them according to the package. So let me break this open. So it's kind of light and fluffy. It's not bad. They are a little dense, but they're gluten-free. So if you know anything about gluten-free stuff, you're not going to have super light and fluffy ones normally. But they are pretty tasty, I'm not going to lie. And for having 5 ingredients, super simple. I might add a little extra baking soda next time. That might help them rise a little bit higher, make them a little bit fluffier. But you know what? These are really good. Now we're going to make our kale salad. I've washed and spun my kale so it's nice and dry. Just going to chop this up into bite-sized pieces. Nice and easy. Then we're going to massage our kale. It's important to massage your kale. It helps break down the fibers, helps to make it more digestible, and it'll take away that bitter taste. We're just going to use our dressing that we made earlier, and now you can really smell the garlic. I just love garlic, so putting it in the fridge for a couple of hours is awesome. And then just give it a good toss, and your salad's ready to go. We're going to give this a try. That's actually really good, and you got a lot more nutrition than your romaine lettuce, but dressing is excellent. So I would say that's a definite try. Good morning, guys. Hope you guys are having a great morning. First meal or first a breakfast from the Engine 2 cookbook that I'm going to try is the Big Hit waffles. It seems super simple, very good, gluten-free, obviously oil-free, and plant-based. And you do everything in a blender. So get your waffle maker preheating, because that's the most important part. And let's put these together. Let's try them out. So again, these are super simple. They have only a few ingredients. So let's put these together. I have my waffle iron already preheating, and I have my trusty blender. And my glasses, because I can't read that recipe without my glasses. This seems like it's super simple. And we're going to start with some almond milk, a cup of applesauce, two cups of old-fashioned oats, half a teaspoon of baking soda. I'm putting cinnamon in mine because I love cinnamon and everything. It doesn't call for cinnamon. Half a cup of walnuts. A medium banana. Some vanilla. A quarter of a cup of flax meal. That's going to be our binder and our egg, basically. And the zest of a lemon, so let me grab it. And we're going to blend. All right, so we have that all blended, and I'm just going to open up my waffle maker, nice and hot. And I have our batter, which is super thick. Turned out really, seems like it turned out really well. Oh, I smell that lemon zest. How awesome is that? I'm just going to close. And we're going to let that cook. So our waffle is done. And yes, I let it stay in there a little bit too long. We're not going to hold that against it. I'm going to get the next one. I'm going to make these waffles and then I'm going to make these waffles and then just freeze them or have them, leave them for till tomorrow. There we go. Let's just put that aside. Those are really light and fluffy. Have some fresh blueberries, and I'm going to put a little bit of maple syrup on it. I can almost eat it just the way it is. So I'm just going to put some blueberries on there. Give it a try. Those are really good waffles. They're light and airy, crispy on the outside. And yes, I know I overcooked mine, but it's still really good. Definitely a winner. Easiest waffles I've ever made. They're light and fluffy, crispy on the outside. Perfect. You need to try this one. Now from the Engine 2 cookbook, we're going to make these epic brats, which I thought was an ingenious way of making these. This is like incredible. Wait till you see how this comes together. So he has different styles. There's Mexican, Italian, American, Thai, and Indian. We're going to do the Mexican. So we're going to add in some chickpeas. We're going to add in some black beans. And I do most of my beans in bulk and freeze them in smaller containers. I'm adding some fennel because I just find fennel just adds that sausage taste to it. This is some fresh cilantro. Again, doing like a more Mexican style. We're adding in our oats. And then we're going to be adding in at the end our rice. And then the other flavorings we're going to be putting in are going to be some diced green chilies and some salsa. So here's my diced green chilies. I'm actually going to use pico de gallo in this recipe, but you could use salsa. We had both in the house, so I decided to use that. And then we're just going to end up blending this all together. Now you can mix this up and change it up, which I have done today. Again, not exactly following the recipe, but it turned out wonderful. So you're just going to blend. You're going to have to scrape down a couple of times depending on your food processor. Mine's not the best. So I did have to scrape down my sides a couple of times. And then just keep processing it until it all comes together. So now we're going to put our brats together, and they're super simple. We're going to be using these rice paper sheets, and you're just going to dampen it in warm water, put it on a and then you're going to add in your filling. You're kind of making a spring roll. Again, you want it to be like a long sausage size, and then you're just going to roll it like a spring roll, so front over the mixture. and then tuck in your sides and then roll it up. And you're going to continue to do this with all of your filling until you have approximately 6 or 7 of these brats or sausages. Once you have finished rolling up all of your spring rolls, you can do these 2 ways. You can do them on a griddle or a frying pan. You could probably even put them on a barbecue. I've done the griddle pan today, and I've actually done them in the air fryer, and the air fryer is amazing. They get that nice crunch to it, and if you were to put these in a bun with your toppings on it, you wouldn't even know the difference, but they are full of nutrient value and great ingredients. So again, I did put barbecue sauce on 2, and I left 2 plain, but you can see how easy and how delicious these look. They were wonderful. I had them without the bun, to be honest. So we're back in the kitchen. We're still cooking from the Engine 2 cookbook. Start really enjoying it. And we're going to be making the Sensational Shepherd's Pie. So I've got my potatoes going for the mashed topping. That's easy peasy. And the rest of it seems really good. So let's get into the kitchen and let's get cooking. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just make my veggie broth. I'm just using Better Than Bouillon. Use whatever you have. The recipe calls for 2 cups of veggie stock. So I'm just going to let that dissolve while we're doing all the chopping. Has carrots and peas and broccoli. So I have frozen peas and I have some frozen broccoli that I'm going to chop up. Celery, carrots, and mushrooms as the base. So there's going to be a little bit of prepping. So we're going to prepare the shepherd's pie, which is super simple. It's very similar to my recipe that I've been using for quite a long time. We're just going to chop up some celery, and then we're going to get the rest of our vegetables ready. There's a lot of chopping here. Next, we're going to use our carrots. Again, we're just going to peel them. And again, if you've been here for a while, guys, you know I keep my peelings and everything for my onions and all my vegetables, and I use it as a soup stock. You don't want to make it now. You can just freeze them and then throw them in your Instant Pot or slow cooker and make your own stock. We're just going to, again, cut the carrots up into bite-sized pieces. I left them round and snacked, of course, because they're delicious. But you want all of your vegetables to be around the same size so that they cook evenly. We're going to just dice up our onion. And again, I'm going to keep my skins for my soup stock. It's a great way of making it for free. And I actually have a recipe on my website if you want to head over there. And don't forget, you should be ordering my ebook so that you get all my tips and tricks on meal prepping. So we've dicing up our onion. And then we're going to move on to our mushrooms. You're just going to slice them. I like to keep them sliced and a little bit thick just so that they are bite size. Always forget my bowl. So we're just going to continue to slice our mushrooms until we have them all done. The other thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees because this casserole or this shepherd's pie will be baked afterwards. Just helps the mashed potatoes get all nice and crispy on top. And I've already been cooking my potatoes, and again, they're just Yukon Gold that have been peeled, chopped, and they're just being boiled on the stove in a separate pot for your topping. You could also use sweet potatoes as your topping, and I do my shepherd's pie either way or half and half sometimes, just so it pleases everybody. Also very high in nutrients that way. So we're going to just finish up our mushrooms, and you're doing about a pack and a half of mushrooms here. So now in our frying pan, we're going to, you can see I have a little bit of water in the pan and it's hot. That's what you want. And we're going to first start with browning our onions. And those are going to take a minute or two to get going. And then after that, we're going to add in the rest of our carrots and celery. And we're going to also let this cook. Now you're going to just keep adding a little bit of water to your pan just to make sure nothing, again, there you go, make sure nothing burns, and you're just going to continue as the water evaporates, just so that you're not using any oil, because you know I don't use any oil in my cooking. And it's not necessary. This is even a cast iron pan. Now my cast iron pan was seasoned originally with oil. That's how you have to do that. But after that, I haven't been using any oil. Adding in my garlic. Now you could chop your own garlic here. I'm just using the minced garlic in a jar. And we're going to cook these down. We want our celery and carrots just to start slowly soften up. Then we're going to divide our pan and we're going to add in our mushrooms, because we're going to want to saute and brown our mushrooms. You want them to get a little bit crispy so they have that little bite, that little meatiness to them. I love shepherd's pies. It's one great for the fall and winter. I like it in the summertime, to be honest. It's one of my favorite recipes, and I do have a recipe on my website for my shepherd's pie, very similar to this. Again, with mushrooms and lentils. We're just going to let these continue to brown. Your mushrooms will start releasing some of the juice, so you shouldn't probably need any extra water. But we're going to, if it does seem like we need it, we will. But at this point, they're browning up just lovely, and we're going to keep that going. Once your mushrooms have browned, you can just mix it all together now with the other half. We're still on a medium heat. Now we're going to add in our vegetable stock that we had made, and we're only adding half at this point. We're going to let these cook for a little bit. And we're going to bring that up to a minimum simmer so that everything continues to soften. We mostly want the carrots and the celery to soften the most. We don't want any crunchy carrots in our shepherd's pie. In the meantime, I'm microwaving my vegetables. That I'm using frozen broccoli and frozen peas. So I've just kind of microwaved them to thaw them, and I've cut my broccoli into more bite-sized pieces as they were large florets. You can see this bubbling away. It, again, smells so good at this point. And it's so simple. You're just using everything really that you have in your house. At least I do anyway, but I guess maybe I keep a well-stocked pantry. Anyway, frozen broccoli's gone in. We're going to start adding in our spices to this. Our lentils. And I'm just adding lentils. This recipe actually didn't call for lentils, but I had leftover lentils in my fridge, and this is, again, the perfect recipe to put them in. You're just bumping up even more protein here. And then we're going to add in our spices. And you can use a combination of different spices for this. You can use thyme, a rosemary, oregano, Italian seasoning if you want to just cut to the chase. And you're going to want to adjust your seasoning. So you're going to add your seasoning, you're going to give it a good stir, you're going to check it out, and then you're going to adjust your seasonings if you want a little bit more thyme, a little bit more rosemary. Even if you want to add some more garlic, I would do a little granulated garlic depending on your taste buds. And of course, salt and pepper. Now put this into your casserole dish. Now if my frying pan wasn't so big, I might have just topped it with the potatoes, but I knew I wasn't going to have enough potatoes for that surface area. So I'm putting it into basically a 9 by 13 kind of casserole dish. And then mashed potatoes are done. I've mashed them a little bit. I'm adding a little bit of almond milk, some nutritional yeast, and a little bit of garlic seasoning. Now their recipe called for 4 cups of plant-based milk. I think I just didn't have enough potatoes, and so I only added what I needed to make them light and creamy and fluffy like the way I like them. So now we're just going to finish off our mashed potatoes. They're super simple. I also have a great recipe on my website for delicious garlic mashed potatoes for any of your seasons, including all of your holidays. I'll link that above for you. And then we're just going to top our shepherd's pie. This couldn't be simpler. And again, you can make your mashed potatoes as thin as you want, as thick as you want, as fluffy as you want. You can make more. We're just going to finish covering this up, and then we're going to put this in the oven at 350 for about a half an hour. You just want everything is already pretty warm and cooked through, obviously, but you just want to finish it off in the oven just to brown the potatoes a little bit. And there you go. Super simple. This is another great recipe from this cookbook that I really enjoyed, and the whole family totally enjoyed this. Again, we do love shepherd's pie anyway, and this is definitely another winner. I do highly recommend this book. I found that it had a lot of great recipes, and if you're just starting out being plant-based, it has a great resources in the front on what you'll need, what you need for your kitchen, and just some substitutes. So now it's cooked, and you can see it's bubbled up over the mashed potatoes. Trust me, delicious. It's beautiful gravy, lots of flavor, and I think you're going to enjoy this one. I hope you guys give this one a try, and let me know in the comments what you think. So I have the fudgy dessert, and it's chilled, I think, enough to cut it. Should freeze a little bit longer. I'm going to give that fudgy chocolate dessert a try. Very good. Great chocolate flavor. I love the walnuts. It's definitely a winner in this book for sure. Give it a try. So we're at the end of our review for the Engine 2 cookbook. I've had such a great time cooking from it. It's actually a really good book. Definitely worth the money, I believe. I did have again, a couple of things. They do have a couple of dinner bowls, which are awesome. A couple of different ways of making different types of chili, which I really enjoyed. Also, a lot of them are similar to recipes that I already use. But they do have like great soups and sauces. So if you're starting out, this is a really good book. And even how to make simple kale chips, which are lovely. So this is, I think, a really good book. I really enjoyed eating from it. The only thing I would say is like the corn muffins, I was a little bit disappointed. They were a little bit heavy. And I don't know if that's because I switched out some of the oat flour for my gluten-free mix. That could be all on me. But I would think they should be similar. Anyway, those were good on the first day, but they were a little dense. So we're at the end of our week of eating from the Engine 2 cookbook. I really enjoyed it. I thought all the recipes were fabulous. And again, I didn't get obviously to every recipe. I did the highlights and kind of what we had in the fridge and what we wanted to eat that week. But it does have a great variety of different types of bowls to make, chili, different sauces, obviously salads, and really hearty main dishes like the shepherd's pie. So definitely a go-to for sure. And thanks for sticking with me to the end, guys. As always, hope to see you next time, and have a great day.